Hi guys, what's up? So, I've been thinking about the FNAF 2 movie. It is dropping this December in like 5 months. And I just have to admit that is kind of insane to think about. I'll be just sitting in the cinema watching FNAF 2 in like 5 months. That is just scary to think about. Anyways, let me continue. So, I thought I might tell you guys my predictions for the FNAF 2 movie before the trailer drops soon. So, without further ado, let's talk about this. But firstly, I need to put in some disclaimers. I don't work for the FNAF 2 movie. These are just predictions I thought of, okay? I've had a look at the teaser thoroughly and all that. So, this is just me trying my best to think of something. And I think the first script leak back in like August is the real one. So, I'm going to be trying to work that one in somehow. So, yeah. Anyways, let me continue. So, the movie starts off with the Universal logo, the Blumhouse logo, and everything. And we cut to Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria open. Kids are playing arcade games, eating pizza, having a fun time. The animatronics are performing and everything. And the kids are all excited. Then, all of a sudden, out of the corner comes the yellow rabbit. He says hello to the kids and says, "Hey, kids, I see you're having a party. Come with me and I'll give you a special surprise." He gets them to follow him, and he's like, "Alright, kids, are you ready to start the show? Count with me now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But instead of turning on the lights like he promised, he raises the knife up in the air and stabs the kids to death. Listen, this is Five Nights at Freddy's. Of course it's gonna get gory. Of course it's gonna get gory, alright? It's Five Nights at Freddy's. What do you expect? It to be all cupcakes and rainbows? If you want that, go play FNAF World. Anyways, we see the cops arrive at the pizzeria, and William drags the animatronics backstage, saying he's going to clean them, and he laughs maniacally as he stuffs the kids inside the suits. He places them back on stage and sprays them with disinfectant so they can't stink. The logo appears after a 8-bit minigame cutscene like in the first movie, where it just shows the history, like the toy animatronics, the Wizards, Fredbear's Family Diner, the Bite of 87, and all of that. It cuts to Mike and Abby, and it is Abby's birthday, and Mike has managed to get her a cake. Good on him. Abby asks why he couldn't get her any presents this year. He says he really wanted to get her something, but with all the money that's tight right now and his horrible job at a hotel and he has to scrub all the bathrooms and stuff, pay's not been good, but he's trying his best to scrape what he can get for Abby. He pulls out a notepad and some crayons for her, saying he knows how much she loves drawing and stuff like that, so he got her some stuff for some drawing. Aw, how sweet. And then he says he has one more surprise for her. He tells her to get in the car, and he starts driving away. She asks, "Mike, where are we going?" And he says, "You'll see." He pulls up to the location, and guess where he is? At the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Abby is like excited. She can't wait. She jumps out of the car. She hugs Mike. She's like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." I can't do an Abby impression, alright? I'm just trying my best here, guys. Don't bully me in the comments. Please don't bully me in the comments. Anyways, Mike is excited that Abby is so happy, and he grabs out the key and unlocks the door and lets Abby inside first. She walks inside and looks around the pizzeria. It is collapsed like in the first movie. There's a giant hole where the roof used to be, and the stage is in pieces. But it is somehow still able to hold the animatronics. She looks over and sees the curtain wide open. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy are all standing there. Bonnie is pretty much like damaged. Parts of Endo is showing. Freddy is also visible. He has Endo arms and his ear is missing. Chica has her cupcake still, but she's pretty much destroyed. And Foxy is also missing his ear and his eyes, but he's somehow even more damaged than he is. They got damaged when the pizzeria collapsed on them, and now they are still here. Abby and Mike look around and they see the animatronics, and Abby is ecstatic to see them. She starts hugging them and saying hello, and they're all happy. They're having a good time. Sorry, I had to. And Mike says, "Okay, Abby, it's time to go." She hugs the animatronics and leaves. That night, when Mike is driving home, Abby notices a second pizzeria off in the distance. She asks Mike about that location, and he says, "I don't know, Abby. We might call Vanessa later and ask her." Mike tucks Abby in and kisses her goodnight. Then he goes into the dining area where he is, into the kitchen, and he gets on the phone and calls Vanessa. Vanessa is somehow still alive after the first movie. This pretty much takes place in 2005, I'm pretty sure. And Vanessa answers. She's all happy to hear Mike again because it's been years since they last met each other. And Mike's like, "Hey Vanessa, is it alright if I ask you a question about the Freddy's locations?" She says, "Sure, answer." No, blah, blah. She says, "Sure, ask me away." And he says, "Do you know anything about another location?" And that's where Vanessa drops a bombshell on him. She says, "Yes, I do. It all started in 1983. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria had just been founded, but it wasn't called Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. It was called Fredbear's Family Diner. There was a few animatronics on stage. There was Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Fredbear, and the Yellow Rabbit." Mike is stunned. He didn't know the Yellow Rabbit had a location of its own. She then tells Mike about how her friend Charlie Emily was murdered in the back alley one day, and how her younger brother was bitten by Fredbear in a prank by her older brother, and he just couldn't take it, so he ended his own life after. She then tells Mike all about what happened, the location, the vivid animatronics, and how they're the Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy from Fredbear's, how Spring Bonnie was used to lure the kids into the back room and kill them, and all of that insane FNAF lore shit that we all know and love. Mike is just stunned at this. He's like, "Wow, I never knew the location had that kind of history." Vanessa takes a deep sigh and says, "Well, it's true." She is telling Mike all about this and how her father was captured and arrested, but he escaped. He was arrested. We cut to a flashback where William Afton is kicking and screaming and getting arrested and dragged away by the police. And he's like, "I won't be... Fuck. He's like, "I won't be in here long. I always come back." He's kicking and screaming, and he's being put into the police car. And Vanessa says, a week later, he escaped from prison. And pretty much, Mike is just stunned at this point. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza had this dark of an origin story. He thought it was just the missing kids and that's it. But no, it had this shit happening behind the scenes. And he's just stunned. She then tells him about one more thing left. She goes to the windowsill and picks up a photo. It's Garrett, and his face has been crossed out. She takes a deep sigh and says, "He was hunting your family too, Mike. I'm so sorry you had to hear about this." Mike is on the verge of crying, but he holds it in, takes a deep breath, and says, "Meet me at the location tomorrow. Then we can talk about this." He asks Abby if she would like to go to the location tomorrow on Sunday, and she says, "Sure, of course." Mike takes her there, and they see Vanessa looking at the animatronics. These animatronics are more chibi and cute looking. There's Toy Barney, Toy Chica, Toy Freddy, Mangle, Balloon Boy, and the puppet. Vanessa is just watching the animatronics just stand still, and Mike and Abby walk in through the pizzeria doors. Vanessa just looks at them and takes a deep sigh. "Well, had a feeling you'd come tonight." Mike just looks at her and says, "Yeah, I always knew too." Fucking hell, that sounds like shit. Hang on, let me rewrite that. Vanessa looks at them and says, "I've been inspecting you." Hang on, what the fuck? That sounds like shit. She looks at Mike and says, "I've been waiting for you." Mike says, "Well, let's have a talk." He takes her into the back room in the office. He takes her back to the office and they start having a chat. He asks her about everything. He asks about the location, he asks about the animatronics, and why was William hunting him. They have a talk, but we can't hear it in the background because Scott loves to troll us like that. I'm just making predictions. I don't 100% know, alright? And Abby starts talking to the toy animatronics. Toy Chica looks at her and puts out her hand to say hello. Abby is excited to have a new friend and waves at Toy Chica. And they start chatting, but we can't hear what Toy Chica is saying. We can only hear what Abby is saying. And the chat ends with Mike and Vanessa as we see like other shots of the pizzeria, like the office and posters and the arcade and stuff like that. And Mike says to Vanessa, "So, I need to learn more. I'll come back tomorrow and see if we can figure out this mystery." Vanessa says, "Sure." And Mike says, "Come on, Abby, we gotta go." And then Abby says, "Hey, Mike, I know we couldn't make me a science project for the fair tomorrow, but could we take Toy Chica, please?" Mike is confused. Why do you want to take Toy Chica? And she says, "Well, she said she'd help me in any way she can. And she said she'd pretend to be my project." And Mike just says, "Vanessa, what do you have to say about this?" And Vanessa says, "Well, Mike, these animatronics are built with safety recognition, so she's in good hands." Mike takes a deep sigh and says, "Alright, we can take her." And Abby is super excited, and she and Toy Chica get into the back seat of the car, and the car just shakes, just violently, like that one scene in the first movie where Golden Freddy just got into the taxi. And Mike takes a deep sigh, looks in the rearview mirror, and sees Toy Chica and Abby just having a conversation. He then drives away and takes them home. Toy Chica looks around the house and just walks with Abby to her room, and she deactivates. Mike looks at Abby asleep and Toy Chica just standing there. menacingly, and he goes to bed. That night, he hears rumbling sounds, and he looks up, and at the foot of his bed, Toy Chica is standing there menacingly. Her eyes are a thick orange color, and he is terrified, he's scared, and the most insane part, her beak is missing. She has no beak and is just watching him menacingly. She looks at him and walks towards the side of the bed. She then pats his head and says, "Good night." And she leaves. Mike is just both stunned and confused at the same time. He's like, what the heck just happened? He wakes up and looks around and sees Abby and Toy Chica playing together. Mike says, "Alright, Abs, you ready to go?" And Toy Chica pulls out Mike's car keys. He's like, how the heck did she get those? She takes the car and drives Abby there. Abby arrives at the science fair and pretty much, everyone's shocked to see Toy Chica just walking in there. She looks at everyone and her eyes are like a green color, and she stands there and just sits there and just stares off into space. And Abby is just showing everyone what Toy Chica can do. She shows her like hip joint movements, her arms, how she can move her fingers. And she says that Toy Chica was designed by her uncle, who was into robotics and decided to take Toy Chica to her science fair. And the science teacher is just looking and he is mad. He walks towards Abby and says, "You've been suspended from the science fair." Abby starts to tear up and asks, "Why? What did I do wrong?" And then he says, "You see that animatronic? Look at the inappropriate designs on it." Well, I mean, if you look at Toy Chica, I guess you can kind of see where he's coming from. He says that design shouldn't be on school grounds and that she is suspended from the science fair. And Abby is just in tears. She wanted to get an A+, but instead, she got suspended from it. She is crying and is depressed. She runs off and calls Mike and asks her... She asks Mike to pick her up. And Mike says, "Okay, I'll get a taxi." Get it? Because his car's still at the science fair. Anyways, he picks Abby up and drives her home. He asks, "Abby, how would Toy Chica get home?" And Abby says, "She'll find a way." And Abby is tucked in that night. And Mike says, "Hey, Abby, yeah? I'm going to be cooking you dinner in a few minutes. What do you want me to cook for you?" And Abby says, "Cheeseburgers, please." Mike says, "Okay, I have some ground beef in the fridge." He walks down into the kitchen and closes the door behind her. But he does leave the light on. He does leave the light on because he doesn't want her alone in the dark, because that would be an asshole move of him. Anyway, she pulls out the crayons and notepad that Mike gave her for her birthday yesterday, and she starts drawing her little pictures. She starts drawing a picture of her, Toy Chica, the puppet, Toy Bonnie, Toy Freddy, all the others like Mangle, Balloon Boy, all of them holding hands in front of a sunset. Like her, Vanessa, Mike, all the toy animatronics just standing there holding hands in front of a sunset. And she hears a sound coming from the window. She looks and sees Toy Bonnie just staring at her through the window. She opens it up and says, "Bonnie, what are you doing here?" He reaches down and gives her a present. It's a little toy called a Faz Talker. It's green. It's kind of shaped like a speak and spell, and it has Toy Freddy's face on it. She thanks Barney and kisses him on the forehead. He looks at her, waves goodbye, and leaves. She looks at the Faz Talker and sees a message. It says, "Message from unknown. How's it going, Abs?" She smiles and responds, "Going good. How are you?" And the Faz Talker responds, "Meet us at Freddy Fazbear's Jr.'s 4 o'clock after school tomorrow." And Abby responds, "Of course, why do you need me there?" And the Faz Talker responds, "We need you to fix us." Back at the kitchen, Mike is cooking Abby her cheeseburgers, and he looks through the window. And Toy Barney just walks past the window. Mike is like, "What the fuck?" And the second he says that, Toy Barney just snaps his head and turns to look at Mike. And Mike is just terrified. Toy Barney's eyes go from green to red as he just stares at Mike down. Mike is just backing away from the window, trying not to break eye contact with the blue rabbit. His eyes turn back to green, he looks away, and he walks away. Mike is just terrified at this. He is just stunned. Back at the school, the science teacher is locking up for the night. Then he hears a sound coming from the janitor's closet. That is where he left Toy Chica. He hears something like a footstep or something. We then see a shot of Toy Chica's feet, and she's walking towards the door. And the science teacher peeks in, and all he can see is the black darkness. Then Toy Chica's eyes light up orange, and he doesn't have long to scream before she busts through the window, pulls him in, and kills him. We don't see what happens, but we do see a blood splatter on the clock, so that pretty much explains it. Then Toy Chica leaves Abby a message on the Faz Talker. She looks at it and says, "Hope you do good tomorrow, winky face." Abby responds, "Thanks, Chica," smiley face. Then Mike says hello to Abby when she wakes up. He's like, "Hey there. So I know yesterday wasn't that good and everything, but I just want to wish you the best today." Then the phone rings. He gets up and answers it, and he seems shocked at the news. He says, "Abby, you remember your teacher, Mr. Lockwood?" She says, "Yeah." He responds, "Well, recently he has passed away." She is shocked. She's like, "What do you mean he's passed away?" And Mike just responds, "They found his body in the janitor's closet. They don't know how he died. The school doesn't have security cameras, but they're trying their best to see if an intruder got in and killed him." Abby is just shocked. Then a message appears on the Faz Talker. It's a message from Toy Chica. She responds, "How's your teacher?" Smiley face. Abby is confused and says, "He's passed away." Toy Chica responds, "Bummer." Anyways, that day at school, Abby is just upset to hear the news about her teacher dying. Everyone's just like upset too. They're saying, It was such a loss. He didn't deserve it. He was one of the most kind-hearted people the school has ever seen. And we would not be the same without him. And Abby is just crying because the teacher didn't deserve that. He might have yelled at her, he might have made her cry, but he didn't deserve to go out like this. Then she goes home and says hello to Mike and says there was a special assembly in the memory of Mr. Lockwood. Damn, okay, now I'm kind of feeling sad. Anyways, let me continue. So Mike is like, well, I'll be making you lunch soon, Abby, alright? She gets a message on the Faz Talker. It's from Toy Bonnie. It says, please come to pizzeria now. She's like, oh yeah, the thing. She leaves and doesn't even tell Mike. She looks at the door and thinks, maybe he'll miss me. She tries to tell Mike, but he gets a phone call and he's like, hang on, Abby, I gotta take this, alright? You just do a drawing, alright? So, yeah. Abby is like, okay. And Mike is on the phone and he's talking and he's like, what do you mean Vanessa's got kidnapped? Listen, I need you to help find her. Listen, she could be hurt by now. I want her to be safe. Then we see that she's been captured by Bonnie from the FNAF 1 location. And she's like, Bonnie, what do you want from me? He pulls out a computer and says, I want you to put in that code. She says, what are you going to do to me if I don't? Freddy appears behind her and straps her in the Shreddy Faz chair costume. But there's no head. Vanessa's like, what is this? And Freddy says, we've made some upgrades to the chair. He then presses a button and it starts to squeeze her. She cries in pain as she's squeezed tighter and tighter. She says, okay, I got it. I got it. She watches as Abby arrives and sees Toy Chica. And she looks up at the animatronic. Abby walks in through the doors and looks up at Toy Chica confused. And Toy Chica slowly puts her hand on Abby's head. Vanessa watches the monitor through pained breathing. On the screen, Toy Chica's hand strokes Abby's head, and Toy Chica's head slowly turns to look back at the camera at Vanessa. Vanessa is squeezed tighter and tighter. She cries out in pain, okay, please, just don't hurt her. The grip loosens and Vanessa watches Toy Chica look back at the computer. Toy Chica takes Abby to parts and services, where there is a computer logged the Faz computer. Toy Chica points at the computer and says, put in the code, please. Abby just looks and says, why can't you do it? A little bubble of text appears saying, prove you're not a robot. Okay, that's not in the original script. I just wanted to put that in there because I thought it was funny. So Abby gets the code ready and she can hear Vanessa. 4AD76. Abby puts in the code and Toy Chica relays Vanessa's code. CD1. Abby enters and looks back up. Now what? Toy Chica looks at her and says, hit enter. Abby's finger dangles above the enter key. She looks up at the animatronic for approval. Toy Chica nods and Abby presses. Click! Toy Chica's eyes light up. You did it, Abby! We are free! she says excitedly. A smile appears on Abby's face, but that smile doesn't last for long. Toy Bonnie and Toy Freddy and Mangle walk by and look at Abby. Toy Bonnie says, I got the code. Let's go. He grabs Toy Chica's hand and they leave the room. Abby asks, where are you going? And Toy Chica says, well, don't you see, Abby? You have freed us. Abby's like, what does that mean? And Toy Bonnie shows her a knife sharpener and puts it to her neck. He slowly looks at her and says, well, Abby, you have given us the gift of freedom. Now, we are gonna go out and we are gonna celebrate. He plops her back down and stares at her. Abby is scared. What did you just make me do? Toy Chica smiles and says, oh, little Abby, you have freed us. And now we're gonna go out on the town. The yellow rabbit gave us instructions. She grabs Toy Bonnie's hand and they leave the room. And Abby says, no, I'm not letting you do this. Then the puppet grabs Abby and looks at her. Oh, Abby, you are not going anywhere. She looks at the puppet, and the puppet slowly looks back. The puppet has a tight grip on Abby, and she won't let go. Toy Bonnie, Toy Chica, Abby, Toy Bonnie, Toy Chica, Toy Freddy, and Mangle leave the pizzeria, and Abby runs after. But Toy Bonnie locks the door, so she can't get out. She's banging on the window, she's screaming, she's like, let me out of here already! Toy Bonnie looks at her, smiles, and says, I don't think so, Sunshine. He puts his finger up against the window where her nose is, smiles, and leaves. Abby is now trapped in the pizzeria. She's banging on the door, asking to be freed, but they ignore her and leave. Back at home, Mike calls out to Abby. Hey, Abby, your food's ready. He looks around and he can't see Abby. He looks at the door and sees a note. He picks it up and reads it. Gone to fix my friends. He starts to worry and he calls Vanessa. She responds. He's like, Vanessa, I need to know, are you okay? I heard you were abducted. Is everything alright? Where's Abby? Vanessa sighs and says, you don't know what they've done, Mike. Mike says, what did they do? Is she hurt? Vanessa says, I don't know where she is, but I know this for sure. She's not dead. Meet me at my house ASAP. Mike drives as fast as he can to her house. He runs up to the doorstep, grabs Vanessa by the shoulders, and demands to know where Abby is. Vanessa's like, listen, Mike, you need to listen to me. And Mike's like, I am listening. You need to tell me, where is my sister? Vanessa says, the better question you should be asking is, where are the animatronics? Mike says, why do I need to ask that? They're in the pizzeria. And she says, I saw them leave last night. They left. They're out there, Mike. Where? Everywhere. Vanessa's voice is terrified and Mike is full of rage. he needs to know where Abby is. He's like, Vanessa, I don't know what you mean, but I have to find my sister now. Vanessa's like, Mike, you do not understand. They are out there and they will find us. Mike's like, what do you mean they're out there? Vanessa says, they left the pizzeria, Mike. Bonnie and Freddy held me. They threatened to kill me if I didn't give her the code. What code? It turns off their facial recognition system. What does that mean? They were built to entertain kids, Mike. They were built to detect criminals and capture them if found. But now their facial recognition's turned off and now they're out for blood. They are finding innocent people and murdering them. Mike is scared and terrified for his life. He's like, Vanessa, Abby is missing and the animatronics are now on the loose and murdering people. You're telling me this now? Why are they doing this? Vanessa says, my dad's doing. Last night I saw him break into the house. He was searching around for something. He found it. It was a code I was hiding from him. I didn't want him to find it. What does the code do? It allows them to murder innocent people. My father is not just hunting innocent people. He killed kids back in the 80s and doesn't want the parents to know. And if the toy animatronics are on his side, they will do whatever they will do whatever he wants them to do. And that is murder anyone who comes close to the truth. Mike, it won't be long before you're next. You need to get yourself prepared for them, Mike. She hands him a gun and says, you'll need this. Just shoot him in the eye and they won't be able to see you. It won't be long before they can see you again, but it'll wear them off for a bit. Mike, I want you safe. I want you and Abby to be safe. I'll help you find Abby, but right now, you need to be safe. They hear animatronic whirring in the background. They look over, and Toy Freddy stares at them. He lunges forward and starts to run. Mike shoots him in the eye, and he flies backwards. He looks up, and he is just pissed. His eyeball has been knocked out of the socket, and he places it back in. Vanessa is like, Mike, you need to go now. Mike runs into his car, puts Vanessa in, and drives away as fast as they can. Toy Freddy just stands on the road and watches them. Mike is just panting. Okay, Vanessa, I want you to tell me everything at this moment. Vanessa's like, they're going to murder you next, Mike. I want you and Abby safe. Mike, listen, I love you, and I want you safe. Mike is just full of fear and everything. He's like, okay, listen, Vanessa, you need to tell me why is this happening? Why do these people know anything? Is there anyone else who knows? Vanessa sighs. Well, I know where their next target is, and I can help you get there. Drive to the location and I'll show you the address. He drives to the FNAF 1 location and looks at some posters. FazFest. By the fans, for the fans. What does this have to do with them? Vanessa looks down. They'll be attracted by the colorful flashing lights. Fans of this pizzeria loved the animatronics, and when it closed down, they were distraught. Every year, FazFest happens. It's a festival for Fazbear fans. Mike looks at her. When are they there? Vanessa says, we're going to be some of the first people there if we want to make sure they don't appear. Mike and Vanessa drive to FazFest and they see it. A colourful Ferris wheel, a fun spinny game thing to see what animatronic you are, and just all of these fun games, like, see if you can throw the cup in this fucking fuck. See if you can throw the ping pong ball in this Fazbear cup. You do, you'll win a prize. And there's all of these games, there's tons of snacks, Fazbear popcorn, and he sees a Freddy mask. Vanessa's like, Mike, we gotta get those masks. If we wear them, they'll think we're one of them. Mike looks at her. Okay. I'll get 2 masks, please. Sure, that will be 25 tickets. But I don't have 25 tickets on me. Well, if you want 25 tickets, I'll make an offer for you. If you win this game, you will win those 2 masks for free. He's like, okay. He practices his shot. He lines it up, throws his ping pong ball, and it lands perfectly in the cup. He gets the 2 masks and gives one to Vanessa. Now, we're going to need these, alright? He looks around and he hears footsteps. He looks in the crowd and Toy Freddy is walking through. He looks at everyone with orange in his eyes. Everyone is just staring at him in awe. He stops and stares at Mike and Vanessa. They put on the masks and he just freezes and stares at them for a hot second. He blinks and waves to them. Then, a group of teenagers dare their friend, hey bro, I'll give you $20 if you knock on that dude's cosplay. I'll give you, I'll give you $20 if you actually touch that costume. He agrees and taps Freddy. He stares at him, rage in his eyes. Toy Freddy grabs the guy and rips him in half. Everyone is shocked. They start screaming and running away. Toy Freddy just eyes them down. He then grabs a giant stick from the kebabs and skewers someone in the head with it. Mike grabs Vanessa and says, we need to go now. He drives to the location to see if there's anything else. He sees Abby banging on the window. He busts in and takes her out. You okay, Abby? She's like, I'm fine, but we need to go somewhere. Then they see Toy Freddy walking towards someone's house. Mike runs up and knocks on the door. An elderly couple answers, hello there. How can we help you? He says, listen, there's something you need to look out for. It's a giant bear robot and he is going to haunt you. They're like, okay, happy Halloween. They close the door and is like, honey, what was that? Just a teenager trying to scare us. They don't believe him. Suddenly, Toy Freddy stares at Mike and Mike runs away. Toy Freddy opens the garage door and walks inside. He opens the door and looks inside. The old couple is watching a movie and the power goes out for a split second. And it turns back on and they can see Toy Freddy in the reflection of the TV. They jump back in surprise and hide behind the couch. Toy Freddy eyes them down. They huddle together in fear and Toy Freddy grabs a kitchen knife and kills him. Toy Bonnie watches the whole thing through the window. Toy Freddy looks at Bonnie and says, you know what to do. Toy Bonnie goes to the house next to them and they hear the screams. They're like, what was that, Gerald? I don't know. Toy Bonnie knocks on the door and they say, oh, hello there. I see you're having fun from FazFest. Hang on, I'll get something for you since you're up late trick-or-treating. No one's trick-or-treating. They're all at FazFest. Toy Bonnie walks behind her and stares at her. What are you doing? Why are you in the house? This is not how you trick-or-treat. Then Toy Bonnie raises his knife sharpener in the air and says, I'm not trick-or-treating. And he plows it in her head. She collapses to the floor and bleeds out. She tries to grab the phone, but she dies. Mike is just watching this whole thing unleash. He then runs to the location and tries to hide in it. He sees the puppet and Balloon Boy. Balloon Boy's eyes light up. Mike runs and hides in the security office, and Balloon Boy just watches him. I saw you before. You were just an action figure. Why are you full size now? Balloon Boy laughs. Oh, Mike, don't you remember a funny face? Mike is confused. What do you mean? Balloon Boy then says, don't you remember your own brother? No, it can't be. Garrett? Balloon Boy stares at him and says, yes, Mike, it's me, your brother. I'm on your side, Mike. They are trying to kill you. I am not going to let them hurt my brother. It wasn't your fault, Mike. Pretty much, Mike is scared. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Balloon Boy. He smiles and says, you're welcome, brother. Mike looks at Balloon Boy, fear in his eyes. Okay. So, they are going to kill me. That's right. But, not as long as I'm on your side. The puppet looks at Balloon Boy. What you doing, Garrett? You're not supposed to be on their side. Balloon Boy says, listen, this is my brother, and we are trying to put a stop to Afton. The puppet freezes and looks. Afton. Yeah. Uncle Afton? I've heard that name. I remember the day he killed me in the back alley at Fredbear's. The cutscene then shows, like, Charlie at the pizzeria, and she's scared for her life, and she's banging on the window. She's like, come on, guys, let me in. It's not fair. The bullies laugh and point and say, haha, you're trapped behind there. They leave, and Charlie is just sad. Then she hears a voice. Hey there, little girl. How's it going? She looks there and sees Spring Bonnie. Wow, it is sure cold outside. Come on, I'll help you in. He takes her back and says, okay, this is a special entry that only employees can go through. It's the only room that's unlocked. And just as Charlie grabs the door handle, William grabs out a knife and stabs her in the front of the head. You can see the knife pierce through the door. A little blood trickle runs through. Henry's in the kitchen and sees the knife. William then runs away. Henry opens the door and sees Charlie dead. On the floor, not moving at all. He crumples to his knees and starts crying. He looks around and there's nobody there. He's crying. My only daughter is gone. He starts crying and he looks around. I'll find you, you bastard! The puppet looks down and says, I was taken away from my father. I really, really wish I wasn't. Balloon Boy puts his hand on her shoulder and says, don't worry, you're not alone. She looks at him and smiles. Now, how are we going to stop this? Mike says, we're going to need to find out where your father is. The puppet looks at him and says, if you could actually find him, I would be happy. And somehow he finds him sitting at a bus stop and says, hey, I'm looking for someone named Henry Emily. And Henry looks at Mike and says, well, you just found him. Hi, I'm Henry Emily. He looks and says, okay, listen, I'm going to need a favor from you. I need you to tell me something. Yeah? How do we stop Afton? Haven't heard that name in years. Well, he will come back, but he's got to die at least 3 times for him to officially be dead. That sounds fucking shit. Hang on. Let me redo that. He looks at Henry and says, I need your help to put Afton down once and for all. Henry says, well, it's been years since I've last seen my business partner. I don't know where he is or even if he's still alive. I don't even know why you're looking for him. Mike sighs and says, he's the one who killed your daughter. Henry is shocked. You're telling me Will killed Charlie? He nods. Well, looks like we're going to have to take down this fucker. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to have to. Mike figures out a plan. He knows the FNAF 1 animatronics to know everything about William, and maybe the Withered animatronics do. He goes in the back room and finds them. Withered Bonnie, Withered Freddy, Withered Foxy, and Withered Chica. They're all sitting there. Mike puts his hand on Bonnie's head and he stares at him. He gets up and reaches his hand out. But Mike says, listen, we need your help. They look at him. They say, we need a plan to take Afton down. Withered Bonnie says, sure, I'll do anything. What do you need from us? He looks down and says, we need you guys to help us kill him. They smile and say, we'll totally do it. There's nothing we won't do to put an end to him. To put an end to our suffering. They divide a plan to somehow catch Afton. They'll lure him to the pizzeria, lure the toy animatronics, somehow get the toy animatronics to learn why Afton is controlling them, get them mad, and try and kill Afton. Then, the toy animatronics find Mike. He drives home and hides. He calls Vanessa and Abby and says, I need you to hide. They have found me. Pretty much, Vanessa and Abby are like, come on, we gotta go somewhere. We gotta go find your brother. Vanessa gets Abby in the car and drives off. Suddenly, BAM! Something smashes through the window. It's Mangle's leg. She has gotten on top of the car and is trying to get in. Vanessa speeds up and tries to shake Mangle off. She swerves and sways the car, but Mangle has a firm grip. Suddenly, the pizzeria comes into sight. She slams the brakes on, and Mangle flies through the air and smashes through the window with a loud crash. Mangle lies there lifeless. Vanessa says, "Come on, we gotta go." They drive off, and Mangle is left there. Mangle's eyes light up. They are not dead. Vanessa and Abby find Mike, and they get him, and they tell him to get in the car. Mike looks at the roof and sees there's a giant hole in it. "How did that get there?" he asks. Vanessa's like, "It's a long story, but I'd recommend you sit in the back seat. There's no glass there." Mike gets in, and he looks around, and he is worried for his life. He's looking around, and he is scared. "Don't worry, we'll be safe at my house, alright?" Suddenly, they arrive at Vanessa's house, and Vanessa lets Mike and Abby in. "Okay, we just gotta make it till 6 a.m. They'll deactivate there. They'll deactivate then." Suddenly, Mangle busts through the window. Vanessa is scared for her life and clings on to Mike and Abby. She stands back and is mortified. Suddenly, boom, Toy Bonnie smashes his fist through the window. He stares in and watches them. Then he crashes his whole head through the window. He chuckles. "Here's Bonnie!" They scream and try to hide. They hide in the bedroom, and Toy Freddy punches through. He rips the door off the hinges and throws it. It shatters to pieces. Mike and Vanessa and Abby are all scared. They huddle together, and Mike sees a plan. He grabs one of the door parts and jams it through Freddy's eye socket. He causes him to fall over, and they run out. Abby tackles Toy Chica to the ground, but it fails miserably. Toy Chica gets back up and grabs Abby. Mike sees this and runs back and punches Toy Chica in the head. Her beak flies off. She looks at Mike. Wires dangling where her beak used to be. Her exposed endojaw just staring at him dead in the eyes. Mike grabs Abby and runs. They run back to the pizzeria, and the toy animatronics catch up to them. Henry and the Wizards are all there. They watch as the toy animatronics burst through and stare at them. Toy Bonnie is full of rage. "Move out the way now. We have business to do." Withered Bonnie steps up and says, "We are not moving." Then he punches Toy Bonnie in the head. Toy Bonnie just stares at Withered Bonnie and then tackles him to the ground. And then all hell breaks loose. All the animatronics are fighting, punching, throwing each other aside, kicking, screaming, biting each other. Mangle literally bites Withered Foxy in the head, and everything is going in chaos. Henry starts fighting, and then, all of a sudden, out from behind the shadows, Springtrap appears. Well. You have fallen into my trap. He locks the door behind him and smiles. "Well, now, you guys, I think it's time we get the show started." Mike's like, "We need to leave." "Already? You just got here." Then Springtrap grabs a knife and is ready to plow it through Mike. But Withered Bonnie punches him in the head and throws him to the ground. "Well, if it isn't my old friends. Back for round 2, I see." Don't worry, I'm fine. Anyways. Well. If it isn't my old friends, we are ready for round 2, I guess. Then Henry walks from behind the shadows. Well, I know what you did. You sure about that, buddy? You sure about that? You know what I've done? Well, not for very long. He raises his knife and is ready to plow it through Henry's mouth. Then suddenly, boom! Withered Freddy punches Spring Bonnie in the head. Playtime, I see, huh? Let's do this. He gets ready to fight, and Withered Freddy punches him in the head. His left ear comes off completely. Brawl of a fight, I see you put up. Then he grabs the knife and plows it through his forehead, making him collapse to the ground. He pulls a knife out of his head and chuckles. Well. If only you could see what you've become. He stares at Withered Freddy's body, lying there lifeless. Abby then grabs Springtrap and punches him in the leg. Springtrap grabs her by the throat and raises her in the air. Tried to play the good guy, I see. Well, I don't think you'll survive the next 5 nights. He raises the knife, ready to attack, but he stops. He drops the knife, and Abby just watches. He drops her on the floor, and Abby grabs the knife. She raises it and is ready to fight. Then she sees what's happened. Withered Foxy has plowed his hook right through Springtrap's mouth. He is gasping for air and is wheezing. Toy Bonnie watches the whole thing. He looks at Abby and his eyes glow red. He looks at Toy Chica and she's thinking the same thing. They both look at Toy Freddy and he is livid. He grabs Springtrap out from Foxy's mouth and throws him into the ball pit. Springtrap gets tangled in the netting, and he grabs the rope and pulls it tighter and tighter. Springtrap is gasping and kicking. He's putting his hand out, screaming for help, and then he just goes limp. All the animatronics, Mike, Abby, and Vanessa, they all watch as Springtrap is dead. They watch the lights flicker and shut down. Mike and Abby leave. The toy animatronics are looking at Springtrap's body, just lying there, lifeless. Mike, Abby, and Vanessa run from the pizzeria, get in the car, and drive as far as they can. We get an update of what's happened so far. Pretty much, Vanessa and Mike and Abby are doing alright. The school is fine. Everyone is okay, but the people that were murdered are being remembered. The people that had been killed by the toy animatronics have memorials all around the town, on posters, on like little graves and everything, and there's all saying, "We will miss you. You were a great family member. You were a great grandma or uncle or aunt or whatever, and you will be missed." Mike, Abby, and Vanessa are all doing well. And Mike and Vanessa start chatting. Mike asks Vanessa, "So, would you like to go on a date someday?" Vanessa says, "Sure, of course. It would be nice to go out for dinner after all that happened." Mike looks on a website looking for a babysitter. He sees one, has a look at their history, and hires them. Well, I just want you to tell me one thing. Keep her safe. Don't worry, she's in good hands, says the man. He's really good at babysitting, and he fist bumps Abby and says, "Don't worry, I think we'll be fine." Mike and Vanessa hold hands as they chat by the fireplace. Back at the pizzeria, it's abandoned, cold, and empty. Two people working for Fazbear's Fright walk in. They look around and they see the animatronics. They are all lying on the floor and they look, and Withered Freddy stands up and stares at them. They are scared and run off. Suddenly, they see it. Toy Bonnie standing there. He reaches out and tries to grab them, but they run away in time. Suddenly, Mangle hangs one of the people. Mangle grabs one of the people and pulls him into through the ceiling. The other person is running away and is scared for her life. Suddenly, she looks in the ball pit. She sees Springtrap dangling. Suddenly, the power goes out and comes back on. Springtrap is gone. The balls are rustling in the pit, and she looks inside, and Springtrap pokes his head out. She runs back in fear, but trips over. She stares at Springtrap as he raises his knife in the air, higher and higher, ready to attack. She screams, and we see blood splatter on a Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria poster. Cut to black. And that's my vision for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. I really hope you enjoyed it, and this is just getting me more excited for when the movie officially comes out. So, if this is actually how the movie goes, can you tell me when it might... I'll tell you when the movie comes out, I'll tell you if I was actually close, because the Australian release date is actually closer than the American release date. So, us Australians will actually get the movie before. So, I'll let you know what parts I was correct about and what parts I was incorrect about. I might think of changing my predictions for when the trailer officially comes out. So, until then, have a great day. See ya. Bye.